has already said it all. So you make my job really easy being here now. I get to just say I agree with everything that they all said. And I agree with what we are all doing. And this is the most amazing thing right now, this unbelievable historic moment that we're in. It is both this combination of unprecedented crisis that we face and this unparalleled opportunity that we have for transformational change. And that will only come from us. In the words of Alice Walker, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we had it to start with. Well, we know it, and we're going to use it. Every day we are seeing more signs that this is the time for change. We are not out there in the Hamptons or in Beverly Hills holding $20,000 a plate fundraisers. No, we are out there sleeping with the homeless like running mate Ajamu Baraka did just the other night here in Baltimore. We were out there with the victims of the flooding, the climate change flooding in southeastern Louisiana. And more recently, we were out there with the Standing Rock Sioux to stand up for humanity. For the Mother Earth that we all share. We didn't go there intending to participate in civil disobedience, but it was so moving to see the indigenous leaders coming together, setting an example for us all, coming together across all the historic boundaries, the historic divisions, the historic rivalries and enmities that they have with each other, to say that we are one people, not only as indigenous nations, but all of us. We are one people on one Mother Earth, and we must stand up now and stand together. It was so moving to be there in the aftermath of this attack. In the middle of the night, the very day that the Standing Rock Sioux had filed with the public authorities the exact locations of their sacred burial sites, that very night, in the middle of the night, on a weekend no less, suddenly the Dakota Access Pipeline got out their machines of destruction. Not construction machines, but destruction machines. And they had mowed down the burial sites of the historic ancestors of the Standing Rock Sioux. The next day, then again, this was before we got there, but this is what we learned on getting there. The next day, they had taken out the attack dogs and the pepper spray and had set it all loose on the peaceful protesters who were standing up for their sacred lands, for their human rights, for the water supply, not just for the Standing Rock Sioux, but for 17 million people downstream on the Missouri River who rely on that water for their drinking water and for their agriculture. And they were standing up for the climate that we all share, because we cannot afford not one more pipeline. And they are standing up for our democracy and for our civil liberties, because not only were they unjustly under attack for simply exercising their First Amendment rights of peaceful protest. But you also had the drones overhead. And on the day that we were there, the state legislature of North Dakota became the first legislature to actually legalize weaponized drones for use in this country. And you can imagine why they were doing it. So this is a struggle we all share for our human rights, our water, our climate, and our democracy. And there they were, one of the most vulnerable people in the world, who were standing up for all of us. And as we gathered at this construction site, destruction site, the next day, and people were standing up and taking over the equipment to shut it down, I was asked, would I lock down on the equipment? And I felt like I couldn't do that on the spur of the moment without having thought about it. You know, it's a very dangerous thing to do a lockdown. Sometimes you get beat up, sometimes you get tased, all kinds of things. So I said no. But when they came back and they said, well, we're going to put some messages on this equipment, would you join us for that? There was no way I could say no to that kind of democracy and justice and sustainability. Especially as my running mate, Ajamu Baraka, was preparing to do the same thing. And he wrote a message saying, no colonialism. The most important thing I could say was to agree with that message of the day, which is that we will not allow this pipeline to go forward. That's what our native leaders were saying by shutting down that equipment. So I wrote with my can of spray paint, I approve this message. So the police authorities, as you know, have issued a couple of arrest warrants, but they issued them for the wrong people, because the real vandals are the Dakota Access Pipeline. We should be doing time for desecrating sacred sites, for threatening our water, for threatening our planet. So what we are doing in Standing Rock is what we must all do together. We must stand up, we must stand together, and we must stand our ground. And the really great thing is that we are not alone in doing this. We actually have the numbers that it takes to turn this around. So if there's anything I want to communicate tonight, it's to reject this propaganda of powerlessness. It is to know they are quaking in their boots about what we represent in this election. You know what Gandhi says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you. All right? That's where we are at right now. We're in the fight you stage, which means we're really close to the next stage, we win. And I think that John in that Hillary Clinton and her campaign have now announced this multi-million-dollar campaign of fear and campaign of intimidation because they cannot attract those votes. And when people say to me, aren't you afraid of stealing the votes? My answer to that is there is no such thing as a new entitlement for big politicians in this establishment. They are not entitled to our votes. They don't own our votes. They must earn our votes, and they have not earned our votes. Donald and Hillary are the two most disliked and untrusted presidential candidates in our history. A poll came out earlier this week, Quinnipiac, if you want to look it up on the web. What it showed was not only that Hillary is failing to emerge from a candidate who is so toxic that a peanut butter sandwich could have won this race against him. Not only that, but what the poll showed is that the majority of Donald Trump's supporters don't actually support Donald Trump. They mostly oppose Hillary Clinton. And the majority of Hillary Clinton's supporters are actually not motivated by liking Hillary Clinton. They just dislike Donald Trump. What's wrong with this picture?
Hillary's sick and needs a doctor.
I think they both need a doctor. Our political system needs a doctor. That's why some of us are practicing not clinical medicine, but political medicine, because it's the mother of all illnesses, and we gotta fix that political sickness so we can get down to fixing all the other things that threaten life, limb, and our very survival. And we can all be healers in this election because we all know people who are, what shall we say, stuck in an abusive relationship, an abusive political relationship, and they need to stand up and walk away from that abusive relationship and get our lives back together. So we can all be political therapists in this election. So one of the ways that we can be political therapists is by reminding people that in fact we do have the numbers that it takes. We also have the vision and the values and the solutions, but let's just start by reminding people we are not powerless, we are powerful. One of the ways that we are powerful is because there are a whole lot of people right now who are locked into predatory student loan debt. And they need and they deserve a bailout. We bailed out the crooks on Wall Street. It's time to bail out their victims, the young people locked into student loan debt. And when people tell you, you might as well go home and forget about it, you're obviously not going to win. When people say that to me, I say, so are you telling 43 million young people that they will never get out of student loan debt? That is unacceptable. We say no. We are standing up and standing together until we win. And we have the numbers. We have the numbers. And let me share a little secret with you. 43 million people in debt, and there's only one place for there's votes to go, because there's only one campaign that will cancel that debt, and you are looking at it right here. Here's the take home. 43 million is enough to win a three-way presidential race. So, if you catch my drift, just by getting the word out, and in my experience, it is an absolutely irresistible imperative to vote in the race when young people learn that they can actually stand up for that bailout to end that debt simply by coming out and taking over the presidential election in November of 2016. And this isn't just something to do for the younger generation. This is something we must do for us all. Because this is the stimulus package of our dreams to actually liberate a generation of people to actually fulfill their passion, to act on what they love, and to act on what they've already been trained to do. This is the stimulus package of our dreams that's ready to go. We need to liberate people from 2 and 3 part-time, low-wage, temporary jobs that people are locked into to live your vision and live your dreams. In doing so, the millennial generation is not just fulfilling your destiny, you're actually taking all of us with you, because it has always required the younger generation to reinvent the economy of the future. We need you to do that now for us all.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, friends don't let friends stay home in debt. Spread the word and bring out everybody you know so that we can take over this election and win it. Not just to end student debt, but to make public higher education free like it should be. It pays for itself 7 times over. We know that from the GI Bill following the Second World War. So this is not something to feel sorry about or to feel guilty about. This is something that one generation does for the younger generation. You should not have to go into debt in order to acquire the skills you must have in order to have economic security. It doesn't make any sense at all. Going into debt to achieve economic security. So we can do this. And in bringing out people to end student debt, we also bring out the force that we need to achieve the rest of the agenda. That means, number 1, an emergency jobs program with living wage good jobs to transform us on an emergency basis to the green economy of the future. So that means not at the end of the century, not by 2050, because that's too late. That means by 2030, we have 100% clean renewable energy, no more fracking, no more offshore oil, no more fossil fuel, no more nuclear, no opening up to the Arctic. We can have healthy and sustainable energy. That means we create 20 million good wage jobs like we did This isn't just like, some great academic idea. We actually did this during the Great Depression. So when Donald Trump says, he's going to create 25 million jobs, he doesn't have a clue how he's going to do that. It will be more, smoke and mirrors and see how far that gets, because he's been busy sending his jobs overseas. So we don't want to expect from him. We're talking about what we did during the Great Depression to help end that depression, and that is create millions of jobs on an emergency basis. In doing so, we're going to create 100% wind, water, and sun. We're going to create a healthy food system that ends food deserts, that ends this industrial corporate food system that's making us sick. And it means creating public transportation as a human right, affordable, high quality, renewably powered, and which uses recreational transportation. We have a right to recreational transportation. That means safe sidewalks and safe bike paths as a way to get to our transit hubs. That's how we get healthy on our way to the green economy. And in fact, we get so much healthier by doing this that it's enough to actually pay the cost of transitioning to the green energy economy. So it pays for itself in health savings alone. This is a win for our economy. It's a win for ending climate change. It's a win for our health. And it's a win for making the friggin' wars obsolete. I'll say a word about that in just a minute, but I also want to include that we are also calling for health care as a human right for everyone through an improved Medicare for all system. It doesn't cost us any more money than what we're putting in right now, and in fact, it more justly distributes that burden so that it is shifted to the top, to those who are most able to pay, and offloaded in the middle and lower income segments of society. But it's not a greater amount of money. All it does is take the money out of the profiteering and move it from waste, bureaucracy, and red tape, and CEO salaries, and put it into real health care and ensure everyone is covered, head to toe, cradle to grave, your pharmaceuticals, your mental health, your hearing aids, your diabetes, insulin pumps, whatever it is, your corporate care. We can be completely covered by moving to Medicare for all. And I want to mention one other thing that we will create when we turn the White House into a greenhouse, by the way, and make the world a safer place. We're calling for doing more of what Baltimore has been leading the charge on, and that is standing up to end police violence and ensure that every black life matters. No more Freddie Grays, no more Tamir Rices, no more of this latest killing in Columbus, Ohio, of another 13-year-old with a BB gun. We don't need not one more needless, racist, violent death. Not one more. We call for demilitarizing our police, for teaching de-escalation rather than confrontation, ending the broken windows policing that has been so harmful and violent to communities of color. We call for a citizens review board with the power of subpoena and the power to hire and fire the police chief. for every community to have access to a special, independent investigator and prosecutor. We don't have to wait for a miracle in the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. in order to have an investigation. And we also call for the need for every death to be investigated. That should not require a special act. Every death needs to be explained. Every victim needs to have justice. I want to mention also that we call for reparations to do justice to the incredible sacrifice of African Americans who built this country on their hard work and teamwork. Because slavery didn't just go away with the Emancipation Proclamation. It was transitioned into lynchings, then into Jim Crow, then into redlining and segregation of our schools and our housing, and then into the war on drugs, which became mass incarceration for people of color, and then into police violence. So we call for not only reparations, and as well to the indigenous people, who must also be compensated for the land that they took from them. We call for a world based on justice. We call for a foreign policy based on international law and human rights, not on regime change wars for oil. And this is why we need to be in those debates and not settle for no. We need to stand up until democracy is actually upheld. In this election, we are not only deciding what kind of world we will be, but whether we will be a world or not at all going forward. We are the only ones who will put the climate crisis on the table and talk about that emergency that needs an emergency solution. We're the only ones who will talk about these catastrophic wars which are making us less safe, not more safe. And the only ones who will call for nuclear disarmament now. Tonight, I want to ask you, if you are able, please come to Hofstra University on September 26th and join us as we stand up to demand a full and inclusive debate. If we are going to solve the crises that face us on our time, this is not something, a crisis that's going to hit in the next century or even at the end of this one. We are counting the days here. There's a small window to actually act on the climate crisis right now. The crisis of student debt is a crisis that is disabling an entire generation right now. We need to stand up now, not wait. We need to reject this propaganda of the lesser evil. Because it's a race to the bottom between the lesser evil and the greater evil. They all just keep marching to the right. If we don't stand up now, it's only going to get harder as time goes on. This is the time. This is the time to stand up and reject the lesser evil and fight for the greater good, like our lives depend on it. Together, we have the power to stand up for an America and a world that works for all of us. The power to create that world is not just in our hopes It's not just in our dreams. Right here, right now, in Baltimore, across this state and across this nation, that power is in our hands. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Let's stand up and use our power.
One more time, can I get y'all to give it up one more time for our presidential candidate, Stein. Our vice presidential candidate, Jamo Baraka. Let's go, let's hit the streets, let's raise money, let's do it, let's encourage people, let them know there are other options out there. Reject the lesser evil, fight for the greater good. Let's go. Party starts down here. Cypher upstairs. Thank you.